During the Corona lockdown, we've changed our lives significantly. Not all changes will be permanent. Quite a few of those changes actually will go away. But it is for us to decide how we change, how we shape our lives in the aftermath of Corona. And in order to understand how we want our lives to change, I think it's important to think about this right now. And I'll run through a quick little exercise that I've been taught by Jason Clarke a couple of years ago. It's called Keep, Chuck, Change, Ed. Let's think through what kind of changes that we experienced during lockdown do we actually want to keep? Well, we probably want to keep the appreciation of essential workers that we learned. We want to keep the number of meaningful interactions that we have with our family members. More and more dads in the park playing with their kids. These kind of issues are very important to keep. We want to make sure that we continue to check in via video calls with our close friends and family members just to make sure that they're okay. We also really want to keep the focus on the message. We are now, for the first time in a long time, in an environment where we really focus on the message rather than on the messenger. I can't stand the guts of this guy. And whatever. That's the idea. Refocus on the messaging. We want to keep, in Australia particularly, want to keep TAFE education free. That's very important. That's the number one mechanism that we have to upskill the middle class fast and to ensure that the middle class doesn't struggle. There are plenty of things that we want to chuck out, and that we might be even in the process of chucking out at the moment. We want to chuck out this hoarding behavior that we displayed in the first couple of weeks of the lockdown. I think we kind of have this under control and we are more empathetic there now. We want to get rid of our collective narcissism, this Instagram obsession with showcasing our life. And maybe, just maybe, Corona really instigated a change there and we might have seen peak Kardashian. We see. God knows. And we do really want to chuck out the politicization of infrastructure spending. This constant bickering around infrastructure, that needs to stop. Of course, there's also the obsession with video calls, that every single phone call that could just be a 2-minute chat on the phone needs to be a video conference call. That doesn't need to be. Keep it simple. Most importantly, though, the thing that we want to chuck and want to combat really here is the increased loneliness of people that live alone and are under lockdown. That is increasingly difficult. And we want to really ensure and heavily invest into fighting issues of domestic violence. We don't have data around this, but this must have been on the up. So that's a thing we need to get rid of finally. There are many things that we want to change, that we want to transform during that time. We want to listen to the experts rather than the showmen. That might, if we manage it correctly, lead to a shift in the political discourse. Let's hope so. We want to make sure that we assess workers, not on their attendance, not on how much we like them. We want to really assess workers based on their output. If we don't do this, the whole working from home thing doesn't work. It's just that simple. We also want to rethink, and I think we're doing this collectively right now, we want to rethink our consumer behavior. Less is more. Do we need to buy this thing? Do we actually have an option to buy a local product? Can we support a local retailer? How can I support my local community through my shopping behavior? More and more Australians are displaying this, and that's wonderful. So let's try to keep this change going and let's have momentum for this. That said, if we consume less, our main streets are, of course, impacted. The shopping precincts. So those precincts must, in a sense, reinvent themselves and really focus on the community rather than on the retail. That's a difficult discussion for another column. But we are also wanting to add plenty of things to Australia that we still have to actually add in order to have learned something meaningful and lastingly from this Corona lockdown. I'd say we want to add more income for our essential workers. It's just that simple. Are we really paying our people fairly? That's a discussion to be had. I'm not deciding this. We want to make sure that the working from home crowd, actually, well, the working from home crowd demands a separate bedroom, a new study, to have a video call conference in peace and quiet, to have the kids out of the room while they work. So that means that more and more people will demand larger homes, particularly the millennials that are right now reaching family formation stage. So what that actually means is that the larger homes probably are in favor of more and more population moving to outer suburbs, moving to regional towns, which leads us to one big issue that we have: infrastructure spending. We need to create a really big infrastructure program. It's all in the pipeline. We actually seem to be moving into that direction, but we need an infrastructure project to get the middle class that has been hit really, really hard so far, get them working. The government can create middle-skilled jobs at will if they create this really big infrastructure project. An infrastructure program must benefit the people that are paying for the infrastructure in the long run. The people who pay for this will be millennials. This is a generation that is right now just entering the attractive earning part of the life cycle and will continue to earn more throughout the next 30, 40 years. So millennials will be paying for the infrastructure program. So it must be infrastructure that millennials actually want. But then again, the preferences for infrastructure aren't that different between generations. And of course, we want to add to our medical stockpile. We want to add to our local Australian manufacturing capabilities. We realized we only have one little company producing face masks in Australia. We have nobody who can produce ventilators at scale. We probably need to reshore or recreate a bit of a manufacturing industry in Australia. Ideally, we put this into the regional cities rather than the capital cities to make sure that economic growth jumps around a bit. That said, these elements of keep, chuck, change, add, this is essentially just my opinion. That the stuff that my research, my observations show. I'm not Australia. The important thing is that we have a collective discussion around how we want to change Australia post-lockdown. I'd be very keen to hear everybody's opinions about the things that we do need to keep, the things that we must get rid of, that we must chuck. What do we need to transform? What do we need to change? And what are the things that we really, really need to add to Australian society? I'd be most delighted if this discussion kicks off in Australia more generally, more widely. I'm very happy to facilitate a start of this here in the comment sections and the comment sections in LinkedIn, on YouTube, on my article in The Australian, because this is a discussion that we need to have now. Change is happening, and it's on us to actually decide how this change will look like.